So you're planning a trip to Orlando but are wondering what else is there to do besides visiting the theme parks? And honestly, I know how you might be feeling because most of the time whenever you think of Orlando, the first things that come to mind are visiting Disney World, Universal, SeaWorld, all of those theme parks. However, whenever you're on the monorail at the Orlando airport, getting to your gate to leave Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer himself comes over the loudspeaker and says he guarantees you haven't seen it all.
Florida has so much to offer.
I think they
There's
have
a good
so many more
chance you don't see it
experiences.
all. So please come back.
It's twice
Visit us
that
again very
go through
soon.
the scanner.
This is Orlando Mayor Buddy
Once you
Dyer.
go through,
Hope you
just
enjoy the Orlando experience.
Which then leads you to your next question, okay then buddy, what else is there to do around here? And that's where I come in, because in this video I'm going to be sharing with you 5 things that you can do in Orlando besides visiting the theme parks. So let's go ahead and get right on into it. And I'll be saving what I think the best thing to do is for last. Now, all of the things that I will be mentioning in the video today are no longer than a half hour away from Orlando City Center itself. And up first here we have Boxi Park. Boxi Park is a great place to find both fun and food. It's great for all ages. Boxi Park is located in Lake Nona, Florida, which is very close to the Orlando airport itself and about 25 minutes away from the Orlando City Center. The fun thing about Boxi Park is that all of the restaurants or food options that they have at Boxi Park are actually in repurposed shipping containers. Whenever I went, I personally went and got a sandwich at the Fowl Play restaurant, and then afterwards I got ice cream at Before It Melts. Now, not only do they have food options available, but they also tend to have live music, they have a kids playground, volleyball that happens, and they also have a Boxi Park where you can bring your dogs to a bark park. And Lake Nona, Florida is also a perfect place for all of you Instagrammers and influencers because it is a very artsy town that has a ton of picture-worthy spots available. So if you're interested in a fun atmosphere and really good food, I definitely recommend adding Boxi Park to your list of things to do whenever in Orlando. I personally enjoyed the time that I was there, and I highly recommend adding it to your list. Item number 2 of things to do in Orlando besides visiting the theme parks is visiting Lake Eola. Lake Eola is located in downtown Orlando, so if you're staying in Orlando, you don't have to go too far to visit this location. Lake Eola is a very scenic area in downtown Orlando that I highly recommend checking out. It's a very neat place. There is a 0.9 mile sidewalk around the lake itself that is great for running or walking, and something very fun that you can do whenever visiting the lake is you can actually rent your own swan paddle boat. Now, it does cost $15 to rent one of the paddle boats for about a half hour time is what you get for your time slot, but the paddle boat does sit 5 people, so it's perfect size for a family. There's also a ton of local restaurants in the area that you can visit to get a bite to eat. You can also expect to see a farmer's market that happens every Sunday. Whenever we went to visit the farmer's market. There's a ton of fun local vendors that you can go and support, but there also is an amphitheater called the Walt Disney Amphitheater that is located at the end of the lake, and you can book a ticket to see some type of show or concert that happens every so often. Now, pro tip, whenever visiting Lake Eola, I highly recommend eating lunch in the area and going to Publix to get some type of sub. Now, I personally recommend the chicken tender sub, so we got chicken tender subs and had some mac and cheese as a side. Then we walked over to the lake and we sat at one of the park benches and just enjoyed the view and enjoyed the lake while we ate some lunch. So it's a cheap lunch option that allows you to take in the area and really experience Lake Eola. Item number 3 here on our list is quite honestly something that I didn't even know existed or was located in Orlando itself, but what you can do is you can actually visit the world's largest McDonald's. This McDonald's in particular is located about 15 minutes outside of Orlando itself. And as I looked into it, because I personally haven't been there yet, there is a lot that you can find at this McDonald's. This McDonald's itself is a 19,000 square foot building where you can also find a 30-foot tall Ronald McDonald. Now, at this McDonald's, you can find the normal McDonald's menu as usual, but they also have a bistro gourmet menu. And let me tell you, this gourmet menu sounds pretty good and worth the trip itself. This menu includes panini sandwiches, gourmet pasta, fresh baked pizza, ham and cheese French toast, and even Belgian waffles. Now, not only that, there is a full arcade that can be found in this McDonald's, and they also have a very extensive play place for kids. Another thing you can find is a lot of tourist info for things to do in the area, but also some discounted tickets for things to also do in the area. Now, item number 4 here on the list is for all of my outdoorsy and adventurous viewers here, and that is to visit a Florida Springs. Now, there are a ton of springs that are located in Florida, not only Orlando itself, but they can be found all throughout the state. But in particular, I will be talking about the Kelly Park Rock Springs and the King's Landing Spring. I personally have been to King's Landing before, and I believe that this spring feeds into each other. So it goes Kelly Park Rock Springs, which flows into King's Landing. Now, it's my understanding that there's a slight difference in both of the springs. Now, Kelly Park Rock Springs is great for tubing, while King's Landing is perfect for kayaking or canoeing. But we'll first talk about King's Landing here. Now, as I mentioned, when visiting King's Landing, it is great for kayaking or canoeing, but there are two ways that you can go about doing this spring. When you initially get into the spring, you have an option to go right or left. The right option will take you upstream, where at first you will have to go against the current, so you'll have to do a little bit of paddling, a little bit of work, but while kayaking you get to see the gorgeous, beautiful blue clear water, and the end point that you get to is actually the ending of the Kelly Park Rock Springs, where you'll see some tubers. Now, as I mentioned, you have to put a little bit of effort in to get up to the end of the spring, but once you are done and you get to the end, you're able to just float down back to where your car is, and it's really nice because it is like a perfect lazy river. Now, on the other hand, if you go the left direction, you will be going away from the mouth of the spring. So as you go, I've heard that the water tends to get a little bit more murky. I have not personally done this, but I've had a friend that has done it. And when going the left direction, it's perfect for more outdoorsy and wilderness type people, because you'll definitely see a lot more of the Florida wilderness. You won't see as much of that clear water that we talked about, and also you'll see a lot more wildlife. But this wildlife that I'm talking about really just pertains to alligators. Now, it's definitely important to note that there are a lot of alligators in the area, and you will most likely see them while you are kayaking down the left side of the spring. So just keep that in mind whenever you decide which way you want to go. Now, when visiting this spring, there are a couple of different options that you can choose when it comes to renting or bringing your own kayak or canoe. Now, if you have your own vessel, as they call it, you can bring your own kayak or canoe, and it costs about $5 to $10. To rent a canoe, it is $59. To rent a double kayak, it is $69, and to rent a single kayak, it is $49. So definitely kayaking at some type of Florida spring is a very fun thing to do, especially in the summertime, which gets me to the Kelly Park Rock Springs that we'll talk about. Now, going to visit Kelly Park Rock Springs, I think, is a perfect thing to do as a family because it's essentially a natural lazy river. Now, when getting into the park, you will have to pay a couple bucks to get into the park itself. It's about $3 to $5 I saw online. And the main thing that you do here is you can do some swimming or you can do tubing. Now, when renting tubes, you can actually rent tubes outside of the park, and they are about $7 per tube. However, I've seen people bring their own tubes, which might be able to save you a couple of bucks on your vacation. So if you're driving to the springs anyway, maybe stop at a store and pick up a tube before you get there to save you a couple of bucks. But when tubing at Kelly Park Rock Springs, you of course see that beautiful clear water again, and it's just a nice relaxing thing to do as a family. Get to see the Florida wilderness, the beautiful springs water, as I mentioned, and it's another unique thing to experience when in Florida. All right, and the fifth and final thing that I have here on the list is what I think would probably be the best thing to do when visiting Orlando, because it seems like there is a lot to see and do there, and that is to visit Icon Park. Now, Icon Park is about 20 minutes from Orlando itself and includes a lot of shopping, food, and entertainment. The main thing when thinking of Icon Park is the wheel that is at Icon Park. The wheel at Icon Park is essentially a large Ferris wheel, but it allows you to see Orlando from a different perspective, and you are about 400 feet up whenever you are at the top of the wheel. Now, the cost of admission to ride the wheel is about $27.99 per person. Now, there they also have the Star Flyer, which is the world's tallest swing that is 450 feet tall, and it costs $11.27 to ride. But if heights aren't your thing, there's also a lot of other entertainment options that you can find whenever visiting Icon Park. It's nice because admission to Icon Park and parking are both free. One thing that you can find at Icon Park is Madame Tussauds Wax Museum. There you can find a lot of your favorite celebrities in wax form. Admission to go to Madame Tussauds Wax Museum is $33.95, but while you're there, you can also visit the Sea Life Orlando Aquarium. Admission to the aquarium is also $33.95. However, I I did see some deals online where if you get a dual admission for both Madame Tussauds and the Sea Life Aquarium, it is $34.95 per person. So I highly recommend checking out the Icon Park website before visiting Icon Park itself, because if you're thinking of visiting any of these places, maybe you can get a deal if you're able to group all of the things together. All right, and there you go. There are 5 things to do in Orlando that do not involve the theme parks. I know the Icon Park kind of involves a little bit of theme park things, but all that aside, those are 5 things that you can see and do when visiting Orlando that do not involve the theme parks. The theme parks, of course, are a huge part of Orlando and it definitely something worth seeing when you're in the area, but there's also a lot more to Orlando that you might not know about, and I hope this video was able to give you some ideas of more things to do whenever you're in the area, so that way you could get the full Orlando experience. Let me know in the comments below if you've ever done any of these things while in Orlando, or if there's some other things that I might not know about that you have done when visiting Orlando, because I'm definitely up for checking more things out in the area. But thank you so much for watching today, guys. As I mentioned, I hope this video was helpful for you and gave you some other ideas of things to do while in the area. As I mentioned, there were some of the items on the list here that I have not yet gone to see and do while in Orlando, but I'd love to keep you posted in future vlogs whenever I go to check them out for myself and let you know how they go. So if you're interested in seeing those adventures, or family-friendly travel content is something that you're interested in, definitely hit that subscribe button below and I'll keep you posted when future videos go live. Thanks again for watching, enjoy your trip to Orlando, and we'll see you in the next video. See you guys!